What did I just watch? Okay, this definitely my fault this time. I can't put any blame on A24. I can't put any blame on Pedro Pascal. This was my fault and obviously also Marvel's fault, but this was definitely of my own doing. But honestly, in this day and age, it's popular to hate on Marvel, and obviously there is a degree of fatigue from the superhero movies because they pioneered the superhero cinematic universe that's been incredibly financially successful for the studios. But I thought, hey, Fantastic Four, I love the characters from the one that I remember about a decade ago with Jessica Alba. And hey, it's got Pedro Pascal, so we got to see it for the culture, right? In fact, this was the third movie in a row I saw in theaters that had Pedro Pascal in it. And I cannot blame the guy, okay? He is taking advantage of his moment. He's raking in the money. Good for him. But man, I don't know how he got typecast now as this sort of bland, sort of slightly effeminate man in these three movies. I just really, I loved him so much in Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I understand that he's great as Joel in The Last of Us. Getting back to the main point. So the thing that made me most excited to watch the movie was actually a bit of dialogue from the trailer, which is that Ben, the big rock character, is in the kitchen cooking with, I guess it's Kirby? Maybe it's, I think the robot. And, you know, he tries the salsa and he's like, ooh, delicious. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna put a little garlic in it. Not because it's not great, just to give it a little zip. That was the best part of the movie. And this is an increasing phenomenon that we're seeing, that the best parts of the movie are put into the trailers. I feel like they could have even leaned in a little more to this chef thing. I think one of the parts that I liked the most about it was the humanization of the characters, that they're shown in their domestic life. They're shown, you know, in their bedroom, getting ready, looking for particular things in their bathroom, listening to music. But one of the great relatable bits is when Reed is basically putting together, right, this machine and the spec to like make sure that their baby isn't going to be like a vile mutant. And, you know, he's also trying to protect the world and the universe. And then she's like, Sue goes, why is Kirby building the bed? I thought you were supposed to build the bed. And he's like, anyone can build the bed, only I can do this. But she's focused, right, on the emotional aspect of having the father of the child build the bed. You know, one of the things that I really did not like about the movie was the characterization of Reed, as obviously he's this, you know, brilliant scientist, he's a genius, but at one point, the Fantastic Four are contending with the fact that the rest of the world wants them to give up their baby to Galactus to prevent the world from being destroyed. And it's like, okay, that's fine. That is like a constant trope in superhero lore. The bad guy, in this case, it's a bit different, right? The bad guy in this case wants the baby because he sees the baby as the heir to inherit his suffering or his appetite. Wasn't made exactly clear, but it needed some sort of tie, and I honestly thought the writing was pretty sloppy. So Galactus wants the baby. They come back. They're like, we couldn't defeat Galactus, but he did tell us that he would spare the Earth if we gave him our baby. And then everyone was like, okay, that seems like a pretty good deal, all things considered. Reed says it is a smart, practical, and ethical solution. And just no caveat. It is an ethical solution to give up the baby in order to save the universe. And so he's making it sound like the only reason he wouldn't do it is out of, and in this case, it would be unreasonable emotional attachment to his kid. Or maybe even for Sue's sake, because he's in love with Sue, which I think as a scientist, as a genius scientist, he wouldn't permit that to overrule his moral duty if he really thinks this is the ethical thing to do. And in this case, he is implicitly agreeing to and validating the utilitarian worldview that Galactus is operating on. And then at one point, Sue is looking at Reed and she's very hurt that he has considered every single possibility. Rightly says that is his job, to consider every possibility, to consider the worst kind of scenarios to prevent them from happening. But then when he's talking about the proposition to trade his son for the fate of the world, I was really disappointed. I really would have expected him to give an impassioned moral plea, which would have been, I think, all the stronger coming from this place of pure reason, on why sacrificing an innocent person in order to save the world is so counter to our most fundamental morality. So to me, it completely undermines his character that he's saying, oh yeah, this is the ethical thing to do, but we're not going to do it. We'll find another way just because I would prefer not to give the baby over. So I thought that was patently absurd. And maybe it just goes to show that we no longer are able to articulate why human life is so valuable and why, to borrow the word from my great professors and mentors at Princeton, human life is incommensurable. What does that mean? It's not like you can stack human lives against each other, like 10 lives is 10 times better than one human life, like you could stack any other quantity of material, material value or worth. So we can't just say $10 is 10 times more than $1. It's not like you substitute life in there and it's 10 lives is better than one life. It's different if you're, for example, choosing between saving 100 people and one person, because you are not sacrificing or killing that one person in order to save those 100 people, right? You accept as a natural consequence of your actions that you're going to be doing one thing, you're not going to be doing all sorts of different things. You donate money to one charity, you're not donating to all the other charities. Does that mean that you are contributing to the diseases that this charity is trying to actually save and, the hunger that this... No, it just means that you are focused on this particular benefit. So yeah, it just would have been really nice to see Reed, of all people in the Marvel Universe, be able to articulate why it's wrong. Not just emotionally inconvenient or against what Sue wants, but actually wrong in a quasi-scientific, let's call it scientific as in reasonable moral sense, that it does not make sense. Because then how can you say that any life is worth saving if in the process you are destroying life in order to do it?
Avengers, what have they done to you?
I was meant to be new. I was meant to be beautiful.
Hello, Mother. Have I made you proud?
Please, don't make this worse.
Define worse.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
What I find is a fantastic trope in these superhero movies, which is the villain is always this utilitarian. This was the thing about that I was a bit frustrated in the Avengers, was that they missed the opportunity to articulate why was Thanos wrong. Thanos wanted to wipe out half of the universe, assuming the Infinity Stones only gives you the ability to wipe out half of the galaxy. Nobody ever was able to articulate why Thanos was wrong. They sort of just relied on our natural instinct that sacrificing someone as an instrument to saving somebody else's life is always wrong. It's different if you understand that as a result of your actions, innocent people might die. And this is what they will critique a lot of the superheroes for a lot of times, that in the process of saving the city, they collapsed a building or something, and that building killed some innocent people. Would you say that the superhero killed those innocent people, or that he should be held morally responsible for killing those innocent people, or that we are choosing those innocent people to die? No, we accept as a natural consequence of certain actions taken that those people are going to die. And a way to distinguish whether it is moral or not, the action taken, is the sacrificing of those people. Are we killing those people? Is that instrumental? Is that necessary to our final goal of saving whoever it is? Because in that case, just like in the case of sacrificing the baby to Galactus, it is unreasonable in a very real moral sense that in order to save human life, which we value so preciously, we are willing to take human life. It's almost like, what are we even saving if in order to save it, we will have had to destroy our own soul?
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we
go.
In the Dark Knight, they have Joker sets up these two boats, right? And there's the boat of civilians and there's a boat of the criminals. And he says that at midnight, if one boat doesn't choose to blow up the other boat, then both boats are going to be blown up. And he wants to show Batman that people can be corrupted, that people are fundamentally weak. And Batman's belief, Batman won't kill even a villain, I'm pretty sure, which I think is a bit actually over the top. We can get into that another time. But what Joker is counting on is to show the citizens of Gotham that they will turn against each other and sacrifice the things that they hold most dear to them to save themselves. And I love the scene where there's basically, I guess one of the captains or one of the people that are in the prison guard or whatever, you know, he's holding onto this thing, he's terrified, and there's this big, you know, black criminal that comes up to him and he's like, give it to me, I'll do it, give it to me, I'm gonna do what you should have done a long time ago. And the guy's like, okay, and he gives it over and the guy chucks it out. And I love that. And on the other boat, they're deciding they're gonna vote, as though you could decide to kill a bunch of innocent people based on this vote, which is a topic of Squid Game that I think would be interesting to explore. You know, they say there are a bunch of criminals on that boat, you know, they had their chance. Why should we give them a chance? And someone says, because they have not done it yet. You know, at the end of the day, there are two groups of humans that have the power to destroy and kill the lives of the other humans on the boat, knowing that if they don't, both will blow up, and they refuse to do it. That is a vindication of Batman's philosophy.
Baby's coming, baby's coming. No. You will not have our planet, and you will never have our son.
I would have loved to be in the writer's room to see how the script of Sue giving birth in an intergalactic space chase would have gone down. I mean, first of all, just the giving birth, that amount of time giving birth on screen in a superhero movie is already wild by itself. But adding in these other elements of it being in the spaceship as they're going around, you know, escaping the Silver Surfer, and then someone's like, tie her down, and Johnny's like, oh, okay, I'll tie her down. She's like, no, don't tie me down. He's like, I'm not gonna tie you down. And then Reed, it's kind of cute, like he like holds her down as he like extends his legs out to the out to support him on the ship. But wow, that was, I was like looking around at the theater. I'm like, is anyone else experiencing, like, are we getting punked right now? I could not believe what I was seeing. So they definitely, I mean, I guess from a sensationalistic new thing perspective, they really outdid themselves there. That was wild. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of Fantastic Four if you saw it. Let me know why you didn't go if you haven't seen it yet, or how silly I must have been for going to watch it after seeing all of these trailers. And I will definitely be doing some more stuff in the future on morality in the superhero movies, because I think it's fantastic and it gets touched on really briefly, but I think there's a lot of layers to complexity. So I'm looking forward to chatting more in the future.